everybody, Backyard Bullion here. What is the point of a safe haven asset like silver or gold? Now that might seem like a pretty easy question for a lot of you to answer. I know, like myself, you'll probably think that silver and gold are physical assets, something that you can hold, something that will protect the value of your currency from inflation and from currency devaluation. Yes, brilliant. That's how I feel as well. However, the phrase safe haven asset, that is something which gets thrown around an awful lot when tensions rise, and that is no more true than this last week. We have of course seen some really interesting developments in the world. The Middle East has decidedly become a more confusing place, I think, is probably the diplomatic way of saying things. There's a lot of uncertainty, I guess, is my point. And we saw the effects of that in a big run on these metals here, these safe haven assets. So in today's video, we aim to talk a little bit about that and the comparison that we as stacker investors, people who have the physical stuff in our homes, in our possession, and how that is relevant to the big global markets of silver and gold, and how a lot of big organizations, banks, central banks, governments see this stuff as safe haven and what that really truly means. So before we jump into all that, my usual disclaimer needs to come in here. I am not a financial expert. This is not financial advice. I'm certainly no trader or anything like that. So any financial decisions you make are yours and yours alone. I would also say I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this as we go throughout the video. So please do comment down below as we go, and I'll see you down there for a good, fun discussion. And just a quick reminder, if you enjoyed today's video as we go, hit that like button. And if you want to see videos from us in the future, hit that subscribe button. It really does help everything we do here on the channel. So, safe haven assets. Right, let's get cracking with that phrase. Now, safe haven assets are essentially commodities which are really desirable, that will hold value, things that are usable or things that are desirable. So the big ones are obvious. Precious metals are the big ones, but also oil is considered to be a safe haven, although arguably a lot more risky. There is a lot more fluctuations in the value of oil. However, those are the assets which tend to go up quite considerably when there is either very, very big amounts of tension, like we've seen in this last week or so, or like in 2004 and 5 when the USA invaded Iraq and Afghanistan. There were big, big runs on gold and silver and oil. So there is an interesting point in itself. The runs that go on these metals, they are paper-driven markets. Now, what I mean by that is that the majority of the gold and silver that is bought, and was bought like in the last week that we saw these prices go up, will not have been physical. It will not, us wonderful stackers here that buy all of our lovely gold and silver from our LCS or online from various dealers, will have had a negligible, if not zero, impact on the global demand and price of silver. The big banks, the big traders out there, they deal in volumes that you just cannot comprehend, and they don't take physical delivery of that. Now that raises questions in its own right in the future. If there ever was a demand for delivery of physical, would that destroy the markets? Would that make silver shoot the moon? Yes, possibly, probably, I don't really know. However, it does raise interesting questions about what really makes and is a safe haven asset appealable to these big organizations, and what can we as individual stackers learn from that. And I guess the key thing here is something that a lot of stackers won't even consider, and that is safe haven assets are designed to be bought and then subsequently sold. The whole point of a safe haven asset is to protect the cash, the currency that these big investors have, the big banks have. They park it in somewhere where it's not going to deflate inflate in terms of currencies, and it's not going to devalue itself like it would perhaps with stocks and shares. Of course, stocks and shares, I think everybody deep down in these markets knows that stocks and shares are essentially just made up numbers on a screen. They are demand for things which would mean absolutely nothing in the event of a calamitous war scenario or something where the brown stuff really did hit the fan. And I think deep down human nature knows that, and whenever there is this mass uncertainty, you get this kind of run on these precious metals and you get significant gains. that can be fantastic for the markets. And I know there's probably quite a lot of you out there. It's mixed though, because I know there's a lot of you out there who will be resenting higher prices on silver and gold, because like me, you'll probably want to still be accumulating some silver and gold. But there will be a lot of people out there who will be very happy about the rises in silver and gold prices they've seen over the last week. And they'll be thinking to themselves, brilliant, I've got some profit. I've got a lot of, additional value that I've added to my stack. Fantastic. Now, as I've said time and time again on my channel, you never make a profit or a loss until you actually sell or release your gold and silver. For example, here we have, if I can get it into focus, we have a coin which I bought from Atkinson's Bullion back in 2017. It's a 1 ounce kangaroo. I spent £986 and 69 pennies on it. Of course, spot price today hovering just under, certainly at the time of filming, just under £1,200 an ounce. So even if I sold this for spot price, I'd be looking to get £1,200 for it, which is a significant profit on that 989, was it 989 investment that I put in? Yes, 986. So that's the interesting question. If back in 2017 I had bought this specifically as a safe haven asset, the whole point is to sell it at some point and make a profit. However, for us physical stackers, and this is the big difference between physical and paper, what is the point in selling? If you ask yourself, I could sell this right now. I could definitely sell this and I could get a tidy profit of over £200. Fantastic, brilliant. That's in my bank. Love it. However, what am I going to do with that money? Of course, everybody's got bills to pay. Everybody's got mortgages to pay, or rent, or, food bills, whatever it might be. Yes, great. But also down the line, I know that I'm going to be buying some more gold and silver at some point in this year, in 2020. So the whole premise of me releasing some of that money and taking a profit on it right now seems just a little bit redundant in my mind. And that is not how a safe haven tradable asset is viewed. A lot of these big traders, of course, the volume here is significantly different. If you have 1 ounce of gold here, but if, for example, you were a trader and your trade was on 5,000 ounces of gold or 10,000 ounces of silver, of course the profit in terms of raw, sheer, large number is going to be significantly higher. I get that, I understand that, but ultimately I still don't see the point for us physical holders of the wealth. There's no point. If you want to go and play the safe haven market and you want to have that kind of protection, then great, you can go do that. There's loads of different trading platforms. To a certain extent, I have a little bit of paper gold in some of my sort of online portfolio with a big provider, Hargreaves Lansdowne. I'm sure there are other providers out there, but you can go and you can have a gold tracker index, or you can have a silver tracker index, or an oil or a coal or whatever other commodities, orange juice, whatever it is, you can probably find it and you can have it and you can track it. Now, in my opinion, it's a little bit redundant. I understand how the world works, but ultimately I still think it's all a little bit redundant in terms of putting money into a safe haven asset that's not physical. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like for these big banks and things, if you put, we're talking millions and hundreds of millions of pounds across the global economy into these safe haven assets when the brown stuff looks like it might hit the fan. If that brown stuff really did hit the fan, how exactly were they planning to perhaps get all their money? If the real, apocalyptic scenario happened, and let's just go on this, like there's a nuclear war that breaks out with Iran, something like that, horrific happens, then it's going to cause huge global collapses. The dollar will inevitably go down and down and down. Any war will have an impact on a dollar price and on the pound and any other countries that are involved. And ultimately, these big banks which have millions and millions and millions of ounces of silver or gold in paper, that's just paper. It's just numbers on a screen at the end of the day. And maybe there isn't enough silver to go around. That is a potential scenario for some very interesting play for us physical silver and gold holders. So that's kind of where I want to finish up with this. There is an element of physical versus paper in this discussion that I'm talking about here in terms of safe haven assets. Not always as safe as you might expect, and there's definitely elements there to consider if you are investing in gold and silver. why are you doing it in the first place? If you're just looking for a quick profit, if you are after a safe haven asset for that cash that's in your investment account online, then yeah, I guess silver and gold for the short term is a good buy. It can be a good buy, and you can definitely see some gains. There's lots of different ways of doing it. For physical silver and gold, there's a completely different mindset. There should be a completely different mindset. You don't see a lot of the big businesses out there, the big, like, we're talking like the Apples that have so much cash in their bank account. They must be doing something with it. They must be investing it. They must be having some tangible returns on it. You don't see them having a huge vault of silver or gold bullion, and well, maybe they do have some, who knows. But ultimately, it's a bit of an interesting misnomer that a safe haven asset is truly safe, because I genuinely don't think that anything is truly safe unless you actually hold it, that you have it in your hands. So do be very mindful and careful of that kind of misnomer. It's certainly something that you'll see a lot more of in the coming weeks, I think, with the tensions that will inevitably escalate to some degree. Now, I'm a bit more of an optimist in this world, and I don't believe that there will be an all-out nuclear war with Iran, but I do think there will be some quite catastrophic fallout in terms of trade, in terms of sanctions, in terms of relations in that region. Instability in that region definitely is going to increase, and that could of course lead to a whole bunch of very, very horrible situations potentially arising. So there's definitely things to factor in that sense going forwards, and I do think now is a good time to hold physical. What does that mean in terms of strategies for us physical buyers? So we can see right now that silver and gold are popular in that kind of marketplace, in that safe haven commodity asset marketplace. That said, there is always, as I said, a sell opportunity for these big sellers and buyers. Now, they'll put their money into this gold and silver, often for not that long a period of time, and then they'll look to take some profit. It's, at the end of the day, all about profit for these guys. For the big bankers, for the traders out there, it's about making money at the end of every day or every hour, such that they can take home their commissions, take home their bonuses, and make money for the fat cats sitting in their high towers on the 70th floor. That's maybe not necessarily quite so true for all over the place, but it's the kind of common sort of misconception or conception that we have of the investment banking world. So what can we draw from that? Well, yes, there will, of course, be increases in prices when uncertainty happens. So for us stackers, I would always advise to you, if there is a huge calamitous situation like there was last week, and then you see these huge runs on silver and gold in a short space of time, my thoughts are, as a lot of people will be, I'm sure, just wait and see. Just hold back and wait and see, because a lot of these rises will be followed immediately by a pullback, a short pullback. Unless there is a truly global catastrophe, it will not continue to exponentially rise. At some point, some of these bankers, some of these traders will go, right, yeah, that's brilliant. I'm gonna make £100 million on this giant trade, or I'm gonna make £10,000 on this tiny trade. Let's do it now. Let's sell it now. They will happen. They will sell. It will fall back down, and we did see that. At the time of filming this video, it's Tuesday morning. Of course, Monday we saw, coming from last week, we saw a big rise from silver and gold prices being approximately £1,140 an ounce, all up to a peak of over 1,200. And then there's been a little bit of a pullback back down to where it started at the beginning of the week. So there's definitely things to observe and notice about these trends. Whenever there are that spike up, that huge spike up immediately, it's all about waiting and patience. And that's, I think, the message for me for the rest of this next month, because it is going to be a bit of a tumultuous month. There will probably be some more spikes up, and there will be some pullbacks. So definitely things to think about in that sense as a physical buyer for the long term. So that's my thoughts and opinions on the subject. I'd love to know your opinions as we go throughout the rest of the week and month. So please do feel free to comment down below. All I ask is be respectful of mine and other people's opinions. And I'll see you down in the comment section for a fun, healthy debate. If you enjoyed today's video, please remember to put a like on it and share it around on your social media. That would be very helpful for everything we do here on the channel. I know it's a little bit YouTube cringy, but it really does help with all of the YouTube algorithm stuff. Otherwise, that's it from me today. Thank you very much for watching. Have a fantastic week. And as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.